From paying more per sheet of toilet paper than wealthy people, to getting charged 521% annual interest just to borrow $300, to losing a chunk of every paycheck before you spend a single cent, this is every way poor people pay more. This is not a video about bad choices. Every item on this list is a structural mechanism that traps people into paying more. Number 1, the poverty premium. Most people think poverty means having less money. The deeper truth is that poverty also means spending more money on almost everything all the time. Economists call this the poverty premium. Lower income people pay higher prices, higher fees, and higher interest rates for goods and services identical to what wealthier people buy. The difference is not slight. It is measurable, documented, and consistent. The standard cultural story says poor people make bad financial choices. That story collapses the moment you look at the actual choices available. When your only grocery option charges 40% more for an orange, buying that orange is not a bad choice. It is the only choice. When your credit score blocks every bank loan and the payday lender is the only door open, walking through it is not irresponsibility. It is math. The poverty premium is not extracted from poor people because they are careless. It is extracted because they are trapped. Being poor is genuinely, measurably, structurally more expensive than being wealthy. Number 2, the inability to buy in bulk. The cheapest way to buy toilet paper in America is the 24-roll bulk pack, which works out to about 50 cents a roll. The most expensive way is 1 roll at a time from a corner store, which runs closer to 75 cents a roll. That is a 50% premium per unit for the identical product. Poor people do not buy the bulk pack because they do not have $12 available when they need toilet paper. They have $2, so they buy 1 roll. Research shows that lower income households pay about 5.9% more per sheet of toilet paper than wealthier households because they have to buy smaller quantities. Now, multiply that across laundry detergent, dish soap, paper towels, canned goods, and shampoo. Every one of them has a bulk price and a desperate purchase price. The annual gap across household goods can reach $1,000 to $3,000. Bulk buying is the foundational strategy of every personal finance guide ever written. It requires upfront capital. The people who most need to save money are the people who cannot use the strategy that would save them money. Number 3, food deserts and geographic isolation. In poor neighborhoods across the United States, supermarkets are often absent. The accessible option is the corner store or the bodega. A gallon of milk at a corner store costs about $1 more than at a supermarket. Over a year, for a family buying milk several times a week, that single item adds over $200 in extra spending. In the UK, an orange at a Tesco Express costs about 40% more than at a full supermarket. Produce quality is worse. Selection is narrower. Prices are higher across the board. The cheaper supermarket does exist. It is just 30 minutes away and requires a car, bus fare, or time that a working parent with 2 jobs does not have. Transportation to a cheaper store costs money. The time to get there costs money. So the cheaper store might as well not exist. This is not about preference or knowledge. It is about where grocery chains chose to build and who is left without access to the result. The geographic barrier is invisible to anyone with a car. To the family without one, it is absolute. Number 4, the buy cheap, buy twice problem. Terry Pratchett put this better than any economist ever has. In his novel Men at Arms, Sam Vimes explains why the rich keep getting richer. A wealthy man buys a $50 pair of boots that last 10 years. A poor man can only afford $10 boots that fall apart in a year. Over 10 years, the poor man spends $100 on boots. The rich man spent $50. The poor man paid twice as much and wore wet feet the whole time. This is not fiction. It is a precise description of how durable goods work for people constrained by immediate cash. The poor person is not choosing the cheap option because they do not understand value. They are choosing it because they have $10 today, and the $50 boots require $50 today. Apply this to clothing, furniture, appliances, mattresses, and tires. Cheap goods wear out faster. Replacing them repeatedly costs more than buying quality once. The wealthy get to be frugal because frugality requires capital. Poor people are forced into a permanent cycle of replacing cheap things, paying more over time for every durable good they own. Number 5, credit scores and interest rate discrimination. Your FICO score, the 3-digit number that determines your borrowing cost, is supposed to measure financial responsibility. In practice, it often measures whether you have previously been poor. Medical debt is the leading cause of credit score damage for low-income Americans, and medical debt is not a character flaw. It is a bill that arrived during a crisis. One hospitalization or one missed payment during a job loss can drop a score enough to change every future financial transaction. Here is what that means concretely. Someone with excellent credit borrows $10,000 for a car at 4% annual interest. Over 5 years, they pay about $1,040 in interest. Someone with poor credit borrowing the same $10,000 for the same car pays 14 to 18% interest. Over 5 years, that is closer to $2,870 in interest. The premium for having been poor before is roughly $1,800 on a single car loan. Every loan they take out for the rest of their financial life costs more. Bad credit is not just proof of past poverty. It is a tax on future poverty, compounding forward indefinitely. Number 6, payday loans and the debt trap design. Payday lenders advertise themselves as emergency credit for people the banking system left behind. Technically, that is true. The price of access is 300 to 521% annualized interest. The mechanics work like this. You borrow $300 and agree to repay $375 in 2 weeks when your next paycheck arrives. That $75 fee sounds manageable until you realize that 2 weeks later, you still need groceries and rent, so you cannot repay the full $375. You pay the fee to roll the loan over, and the cycle begins. The average payday borrower takes out 8 to 10 loans per year. They are not rolling over because they are irresponsible. They are rolling over because the loan was designed so they cannot repay it. Payday lenders collect 75 to 80% of their revenue from borrowers stuck in repeat cycles. That is the business model. The product is not a loan. The product is the trap. Number 7, check cashing fees and the unbanked premium. About 5.4% of Americans have no bank account. To cash a paycheck, they go to a check cashing service, which charges up to 8% of the check's face value. A construction worker cashing a $100 check pays $8 before he has bought a single thing. Do that every 2 weeks, and you are paying over $200 a year just to receive your own wages. Per transaction fees add more cost on top. Annual totals for being unbanked run between $200 and $600 in access fees. Banks offer free checking accounts to people who can maintain a minimum balance, typically around $1,000. Poor people cannot maintain that balance because they do not have $1,000 sitting still. So they are excluded from the free banking system. They are pushed into the fee-based alternative. The barrier to entering the free system is the money they are already paying to access. Number 8, prepaid debit cards and wage payment extraction. Many low-wage employers, especially in retail and food service, pay workers with employer-issued prepaid debit cards rather than direct deposit or paper checks. These cards are presented as a modern convenience. They come with fees. Typically, the card allows one free ATM withdrawal per pay period. Every extra withdrawal costs $2. For a low-wage worker with irregular expenses, one free withdrawal is not enough. Unexpected costs mean another trip to the ATM. Each trip costs $2. Across a year, a worker making multiple extra withdrawals per pay period can lose $100 to $300 in fees on money they already earned. The extraction does not happen at the store or the lender. It happens before the worker has spent anything at all. The paycheck arrives already carrying a fee layer. Number 9, regressive taxation. When most people think about taxes, they think about income tax, which is progressive. You pay a higher percentage as you earn more. But income tax is not the only tax Americans pay. Sales taxes, excise taxes on gasoline and tobacco, and certain property tax structures are regressive, meaning they take a higher share of income from poor people than from wealthy people. The numbers are stark. In the 10 most regressive states, the bottom 20% of earners pay 3 times more of their income in taxes than the top 1%. For sales and excise taxes specifically, poor families pay roughly 7% of their income. The top 1% pay roughly 1%. To pay a wealthy person buying a $5 gallon of milk pays the same sales tax as a poor person buying that same gallon. But the wealthy person barely notices it. The poor person feels it on every purchase, every day. The tax system is not a neutral backdrop to the poverty premium. It is one of its active mechanisms. Number 10, higher utility costs in poor housing. Poor people do not just pay more for food and credit. They pay more for the air in their homes. Older housing, which is what lower rents usually buy, tends to have drafty windows, uninsulated walls, and aging heating and cooling systems. These buildings are expensive to run. A poor family in a drafty apartment might pay $200 a month in utilities to keep the place tolerable. A wealthy family in a newer, better insulated home might pay $120 a month for the same comfort, and their home is nicer too. The efficiency premium, the cost difference between a well-sealed modern building and a leaking older one, falls entirely on the tenant. Landlords who own low-income rental properties have little reason to upgrade insulation or replace old HVAC equipment. The tenant pays the inefficiency bill every month. Poor people pay more to heat and cool their homes and get worse living conditions in return. Number 11, housing costs as a disproportionate burden. Standard financial advice says to spend no more than 30% of your income on housing. Middle-class families in the United States generally stay near that range, paying about 25 to 30%. Poor families often spend 40 to 60% of their income on housing. That is not a choice. In most American rental markets, the lowest priced available units still consume a majority of a low-income worker's paycheck. There is no budget tweak that fixes that math. You cannot cut elsewhere enough to compensate when housing alone takes more than half of what you earn. The captive rental market makes this worse. A tenant with bad credit, no savings for a security deposit, and no other options has no negotiating power with the landlord. The landlord knows it. Rents in low-income neighborhoods face little competitive pressure because the tenants cannot leave. The largest single household expense is also the one poor people have the least power to control. Number 12, the time cost of being poor. The poverty premium is not only financial. Poor people spend more time on financial survival, and that time has real economic value that almost never gets counted. Without a car, getting to a cheaper grocery store means planning a bus route and spending 2 hours instead of a 10-minute drive. Managing a payment crisis means hours on hold with lenders, arranging payment plans, and rescheduling bills. Working multiple part-time jobs with unpredictable schedules consumes time that cannot be redirected toward a second income, education, or rest. A working poor parent spending just 3 hours per week managing financial chaos loses the equivalent of about $780 to $1,560 a year in potential earnings, depending on wage rate. That time is also not available for the things that would help them escape poverty: a certification course, a second job, or time with their children. Poverty takes not just money, but the time you would need to earn more of it. The clock is part of the trap. Number 13, financial scams and fraud targeting. The scam industry does not target people at random. It targets people who are desperate. Desperation is a vulnerability that predators are trained to identify and exploit. When you need $500 by Friday, you're far more susceptible to an offer that promises it quickly, even if the terms are wrong or the warning signs are obvious to someone wealthier. Poor and vulnerable people have less access to financial literacy resources, legal advice, and consumer protection infrastructure. They are more likely to be reached by predatory offers because they are more likely to be searching for relief. They are less likely to have a lawyer or an accountant check the paperwork. The targeting is deliberate. Predatory financial products spend more on marketing in low-income zip codes. Scammers disproportionately target elderly and low-income people because vulnerability works in their favor. The poverty premium does not only operate through formal systems, it also operates through fraud. Number 14, the debt cascade effect. One financial emergency is rarely just one financial emergency. A $500 medical bill arrives during a week when rent is due. There is no slack in the budget, so the medical bill goes to a payday lender. The payday loan cannot be repaid in full on payday because the paycheck also has to cover rent. The loan rolls over and generates a new fee. The rollover damages cash flow for the next 2 weeks. A credit card minimum payment gets missed. The credit score drops. The next time a loan is needed, the rate is higher. Then the car breaks down. With the score lower and savings non-existent, the repair has to go on a high interest card or another payday loan. Each event makes the next one more expensive and harder to absorb. This is not bad luck. It is a predictable sequence that operates the same way for millions of people. The cascade is normal in poverty in America. One emergency does not cost $500. It costs everything that follows. Number 15, the self-reinforcing trap. Every item in this video is separate, but they do not stay separate. They work together and each one makes the others worse. Not buying in bulk means spending more on food each week. Spending more on food means less left for durable goods. Buying cheap goods means replacing them more often, which eats the money that could have covered an emergency. No emergency buffer means the next crisis goes to a payday lender. The payday loan damages credit. Damaged credit raises interest rates on everything financed. Higher interest payments consume more of the housing budget. More housing spending means less for utilities. Drafty housing raises utility bills, and managing all of this consumes the time that could have gone toward earning more. The poverty premium is not a collection of separate problems. It is a compounding system where every mechanism tightens every other mechanism. Poverty does not get cheaper over time. It gets more expensive because the system is built to make it so. Poverty is not a character flaw. It is a system, and that system has a price tag. If this video made you think differently about how financial systems work, watch our breakdown of how credit scores were invented, who they were designed to serve, and why the whole system might be built backwards. That one is up next.